So we got a firing pin here that's loose, and it drags and it binds, and it's actually shaving metal up inside the receiver. The one that's in it has it's bent. So I'm going to pull that one out, unbend it, and see whether or not I can uncork this thing. See what we can do. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's just another gun, guys. It's just another day in a shop. So, there's this assumption that I'm some kind of rare guns guru, and I'm really not. I'm able, let me make sure here this is forward. I'm kind of able to remember the order that this thing comes apart in order to extract the bolt / firing pin here. So what happened was, this thing was put in, God, if it was only that easy to put it back together again. All right, track me on a focus here. Get up on this firing pin, will you? Wow, well there you go. There's the problem right there. See, that's bent. That's kind of what it felt like. It was jamming into the firing pin hole when it was coming forward. And then the other one was making it slow down when it was running. Go watch me shoot it again, and you'll hear it slowing down while it's running. So we're just going to kind of try to clean this up here. All right, I'm going to formulate an idea as to what I want to do. I'll be right. Well, hang on. Hold that. We're focused right there. Right? So don't move. I'm going to fly up. Here's the other one. And this guy is, let me see here. Where am I? Right there. This guy is all kinds of loosey-goosey. Look at that. So this one doesn't work, and that one doesn't work. And that's unacceptable. There's two real reasons why this thing's in here. And I don't know if we're in chicken and the egg mode. Who came first here? I don't care. But the discussion is that the thing appears to be shaving lead. Listen to me, shaving metal from this area right here. But having seen the firing pin that was in it, I gotta wonder. Now, you call this thing firing pin, oprod, gas piston, it's all the same thing. As I roll this forward, you can actually see the nose of the bent firing pin coming in, and it would hit the primer right there. So from an open bolt, this thing would come forward, shebang, bang, 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 right? So once I figured that out, we're going to put this thing back together again. And I really wish I could tell you we were going to shoot it. And if you want to watch it get shot, there's already a hell of an episode here. I'm trying to get in here without getting in the light. There we go. So right there is where it would hit the rim of a 303 Brit and keep right on moving. And the rounds dropping in from the top. So we're going to straighten out this firing pin here. And then I'm going to take the entire inside of this receiver area, and I'm going to cover it in a transfer compound. I'm going to Sharpie marker the whole inside of the thing, put the weapon back together again, and then get a couple of rounds out of this sucker, and then come back in, take it back apart again, and see whether or not any of the transfer compound got wiped off of it. All right, this isn't kosher, but I've got enough pieces here to make one that works, and I'll worry about the rest of it later. So what we'll wind up with, we're going to wind up tapping this pin out right here. Hang on a minute. Carbon sheath patent pokey right there. There's a pin coming out right here. So now I'm having to cover this because I don't want this pin to fly across. So I'm taking my finger and just laying it on there like that and holding it. And now I need a longer drive pin. Will that go in there? Yep. Okay, so right there, you see it? And the idea is to keep this pin from taking off across the room so that we can use it later. So we take this out. I don't know. I've never had one of these things apart before. I've never seen one of these goofy ass guns, but I'm sure that there's enough pieces in here to make it work somewhere. So I'm betting you that if we tap forward on this, this almost looks like the guys that designed this thing. What is this thing? It's a Lewis? It's a Lewis. I don't know, Lewis. I don't know. Who knows? Oops, that came out. So that's the damaged one. And we showed you before that it's not round. So what I want to know is, can we just take this one out, pop it in here, have a straight op rod with a good firing pin, and go from there? So let's see if we can do that. And then I can fight the bad rod on another day. All right. Okay, we'll put this in here. I don't know if I'm in camera or not, but it doesn't matter. Hang on. Oh boy, that one came out easy. Okay, knock that out. Put. Okay. Yeah, of course I dropped it on the floor. Gravity sucks. Okay. Boy, even this one has had a good day. So I'm gonna polish. Can you focus right here? Can you get me out right on the end of that tip? Right on that thing right there. There you go. This thing is hacked up pretty good. It's flat. It's probably gonna puncture primers. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna polish the nose of this before we go any further. It's got to be not sharp, or it will poke holes in primers. So now we're going to be right here, and I'm going to break out my one of my kind of coarse stones, and a little bit of oil here, right there. Just not anything fancy. I'm just going to kind of. This is a really rough stone, and all I'm doing is just starting to make it round. Not moving a lot of material. Okay, now I'm going to come over to the other side. With the pressures involved, we found that out from when we were working on those Italian guns, the Carcanos, that there's a lot of pressure involved. And if you give a sharp edge anywhere, that primer, if you've ever pulled a cartridge out of a gun, and it's got a, hang on a minute, I got a cut in front here. If you've ever pulled a cartridge out of a gun and it's got a black ring around it, that means the primer failed, right? And if that fails, it's dumping gas back into the action. We don't want that here. We got enough crap going on as it is. All I'm doing is smoothing this out. I mean, this gun's busier than a 3-Becker Billy Goat when it's running. And that's pretty freaking busy. All right. There we go. Nice. Now we take the non-floppy rod. We mount the non-floppy rod. That's the bent one. This is the clean one. That's going to go in there. There's a dimple on the bottom here, and we're going to want to line this dimple up. That should work right there. Let me get a chunk of wood over here. I get something that won't mess this firing pin tip up. We'll just set a block of wood right there. Drive it in like that. And then once that touches off, we'll see how close. Holy crap, I have just burned up my karma for the week. Are you kidding me? All right. I burned up my karma for the week. Okay, that pin came out of this one, right? Okay, so give me that pin. This one's got to go. Hey guys, small parts, these bags are worth their weight in gold. You take these small itty bitty parts like this pin, you drop it in here, you drop it in there with that. Now all of a sudden that part's the size of this bag, and it becomes dramatically harder, although not impossible to lose. Dramatically harder. Okay. Now, just because it's going to be easier for me to come in from the back, this pin has actually got a hole. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a hole there, and there's a hole there. And what I'm supposing is supposed to happen is you drive this pin in, and then you hit it from either end with a punch, and you put a slight flare on it. And as you flare each end out like that, it'll keep the pin from walking out. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not some kind of flipping expert on this particular gun. I don't know. But it is, at the end of the day, a machine. Okay? A lot of things. We got an RSC in here with a messed up gas system. And I think that gun hasn't been worked on because people fear it. And there's a difference between fear and profound respect. I did not fear that Pedersen device. I had a profound level of respect for it because it is so rare, so unobtainium, and extra unicorn horns are in short supply. Here we go. I don't want to hit it too hard because then I'll upset the end of it. That's not what I want to do. So we'll put a punch in here. Get up here so you guys can see what I'm doing. Here we go. Okay, I gotta open that up a little bit. Now, we're right at one of those points where I started hitting it harder. And that's not it. You don't hit it harder, you go for a bigger beater. Wow. Okay. We've come up against something hard. I'm coming back out. Okay. I gotta rim that a little bit. So now I'm just going to cut a slight conical. What I've done here, you can see the shiny. I don't know if you can see it's shiny. It's shiny right there. And what I've done is I've just kind of cut a bit of a taper in it. So instead of the pin flaring out this way, it flares in that way. And then I'm checking to make sure that I'm straight through. The other problem I was having was it was shaking. So we got to do a move. And we're going to lay this over on its side like this so that the load comes through my hammer and down on the device jaw. And you'll hear how much more solid it sounds when I'm hitting it that way. So we'll take the small hammer and get it running. See, now it's just going right in. Now I'm not having to cream it. Here we go, a little bit more. Okay, perfect. That is not going anywhere. Okay, so now we've got an operational firing pin in a tight oprod. Sharpie marker, Mark 1, Mod 0. Really, really excellent for use in coloring in. So what I'm doing is I'm running Sharpie marker all over this. And we'll stroke this bolt a half a dozen times. And we'll see whether or not we're actually rubbing on something or not. Before we go in here and start weld building stuff up, we'll find out whether or not the gun's actually wearing or not. So what I'm doing is I'm turning all this black. And the first time you hit it with a little bit of bore cleaner, it comes right off. It's not like I'm hurting it. Yes, you can use Prussian blue for this. However, Prussian blue is an absolute mess when you use it. My God, this stuff is disgusting. All I'm trying to do is see whether or not I've got any scrape marks or not. That's it. All right, we got to let this reload. Okay, there we go. Now it's reloading. Cool. So I've turned the inside of that Raceway black. Oh, God, I'm going to have to put this gun back together again. Yeah. And while I just said that I wasn't going to fix this firing pin right now, the other one, I rounded it off, stoned it, and when I put it back together again, I took a look, and I only had about 25, maybe 30 thou firing pin protrusion, which probably won't be enough. So I'm just going to hedge my bets here, fix this, and put this one back on. If you don't have enough protrusion, it doesn't hit the primers hard enough. So what I'm doing here, you'll see a little, doesn't matter how hard this is, it's only hitting a piece of brass. So what I want to show you is that it's glowing. See it glowing? Now I'm not heating it up with an oxyacetylene torch because I don't want it that hot. I don't want to melt it. What about the metallurgy? I couldn't care less about the metallurgy of this. Somebody will probably correct me and tell me that it's better if it's harder or at a certain, and I don't think so. I think it's more important it doesn't snap off. And that's why I'm heating the whole thing up, because I want to just make sure it doesn't snap off. Once you bend something like this, especially metallurgy from 1914 is the date on the weapon, 14, 15, something like that. So I'm looking at 100-year-old metallurgy, and I'm going to tell you what, the second iteration of the Great War, the second part of it, the two part, an awful lot was learned about steel that they didn't know in 1914. So when this got bent, it probably got work hardened pretty bad, and I don't want to be there to find out. So here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and get that nice and warm. And then there we go. That's pretty damn close. A little bit more. Just the physical act of beating on this is work hardening it. And I don't know about you, but I think the 24-hour Lewis parts store is closed. Beauty of this is I could make one of these firing pins if I had to. Who knows? I might wind up making one. All right, so I got that uncocked. We're going to go ahead and throw all this back together again. And I'm going to see whether or not all that Sharpie marker gets rubbed off that bolt ray. All right, in the interlude, I put this thing together, and hand me the bolt. I put this thing together, and both of these firing pins failed to protrude enough. So when this firing pin comes all the way forward, it's going to stick through the hole right here. It's going to stick through the hole. And both of these firing pins were beat up pretty bad. Can you come on around and see if we can see in there? There you go. There you go. Yeah, that's what they're going to see. So if you look right there, you'll see the firing pin coming and going. Both of these pins are too short. Both of these pins put just the slightest nick. Let me cross light here. Right there. There's a little nick. It's not enough. It's not sticking out enough. Okay. So what the hell are we going to do about that? Well, firing pin protrusion is set by this surface right here. So the length from here to the front face of this is what sets how far out the firing pin goes. I don't want to modify the operating rod. I don't want to modify the bolt. I could make this thing come out a little bit further right here. This is a consumable part on this gun. This firing pin tip is a consumable part. If we were talking about a Remington 700 that was going to have was wearing its one and only firing pin for the rest of his freaking life, and it wasn't 114 years old and it wasn't some kind of significant whatever, I would go ahead and trim a little bit off here and just be off and running, but I'm not going to do that. The ultimate answer here is I'm going to make a new firing pin for this. We're not going to do that tonight. What we're going to do is something akin to this. I'm going to go ahead and knock this pin out again. Got it. All right. Now, we're still where we can see in the front. We're going to tap that forward a little bit. And we're going to come to the realization that if that was sticking out, we could actually make the firing pin stick out as far as we want to. Now, what number are we looking at? We're looking at about 40 to 50 thousandths on a center fire and about 75 thousandths on a center fire, on a shotgun, I'm sorry. So if we tap this back, our protrusion will go in. As we tap this back. Now, I'm not all the way down. I'm not flush right here, and I don't want to be flush yet. And I'm going to tell you how I'm going to deal with this for right now, because at the end of the day, this is just a damn gun. So that's about right. Once again, I'm going to get all kinds of lit up about, you're using a dial indicator. Well, okay, I don't care, but I'm getting done what I got to get done. Right there. Well, I'm not going to be able to get down on it. There we go. Bang. Where that sits, I got 45 thou right there. Let me see if I can get that in. I got 45 thousandths of an inch of protrusion, and that's what I want. Okay? 45, whatever. So, because this is now flush, I'm going to measure to the back edge of this, and I'm going to say that that's 1.525, maybe 1.530 is where I'm going to want this when this is all done. I'm going to want this to be about 1.530. I'm going to make a spacer. It's going to look a lot like a washer out of a piece of shim stock. That's going to fill in this area right here. We're going to fill that in, rotate this pin and drill another lock, and we're going to be done. So the first thing I'm going to do is round off the nose of this. All right, you can see this notch that's filed here. We're just going to roll it around and cut another notch on the other side. Put it up against the shoulder. Run a drill bit through there. Mark it, drive a pin, and we're going to be fine. We're not beating this thing up against a piece of granite. This is hitting a piece of brass that gives away. It doesn't have to be that good. What it needs to be is round. So now that I know what my final number is going to be, about 530 is what we agreed upon, I'm going to pull this out, round it up really well, and not give a tinker's damn about how short it gets, and then go ahead and shim it till I get my overall length. Let's see here. So just a little bit. I'm just going to kiss it on this wheel. Hang on, I'll be right there. Kiss it there. Because it's very important we're not poking holes in primers. I'm not going to go back through and beat on this thing and stretch it and do all that other crap. Eventually, I'll just wind up making them a new one. But the sun's going down, and I want to get the hell on with this one. So hang on a minute here. It'll be right interesting to see what kind of circus animal you get to see right now. There we go. Okay, so I've gone in and made that round. That's basically round. Now I'll stone it to take all the sharp marks out of it. To make sure it won't. It's not how sharp this is. It's the time rate of rise of force on the back end of the priming composition, right? So you don't want it sharp, because all it's going to wind up doing is poking a hole through the back end of it. So let's make sure that this bolt's not rubbing, shall we? I don't know. Let's get inside and take a look. So we come in now and we do the post-mortem analysis, and there is some rubbing here. I'm going to investigate that further. There's a little bit, but I don't see any metal shavings. But honestly, who gives a crap? Because I just got to shoot a Lewis, baby.